Welcome to this detailed guide on the staves of Darktide. If you're looking for any section specifically, feel free to look through the timestamps below. In order to determine what staff we want though, we must first understand the character we're playing. The Psyker is the wizard of the party, equivalent to Cienopiguanasis of Vermintide. You don't use ammo or grenades, but instead manage a resource called Peril. As you use fourth attacks like Brain Burst, the 4-sword special, or any staff attacks besides the special, you'll build up Peril, seen at the center of the screen. Go beyond 100% Peril, well, at your own peril. Every Psyker at base has Brain Burst as a long-range single-target nuke option, doing at least 850 guaranteed damage and 45% Peril buildup. The Psychonetic's Wrath has her class ability, able to instantly quell 50% Peril every 30 seconds, and provide a Chrono knockback.
I am one with the warp!
The Psyker's role in the party is CC. Now what is CC? CC stands for Crowd Control, with effects like Stun, Stagger, Knockdown, Suppression, and our favorite, Dead. Oh, but loser, Dead isn't a real form of CC. Kick W. Shut up, loser. Are the enemies hitting you? Did you buy yourself time to quell? Are your teammates appreciative of not having to waste more ammo? Exactly. The crowd is controlled. The horde is your problem until it isn't, and the dead status effect is a more permanent solution than stunned. In clarification, no one's role in the party is strictly just damage or DPS. Everyone does damage. Some just better to different targets in different situations. The Psyker just happens to be better at providing more consistent CC than the other classes via its unique weaponry and renewable resource. All the staves provide some form of CC to varying degrees to different enemies. What are some strengths and weaknesses of the Psyker? First, the strengths. The Psyker has high single target burst, whether it's up close or far, by using the 4-sword special and the Brain Burst. It also doesn't need any ammo or grenade pickups when using the staff, allowing your teammates more pickups. As for weaknesses, the Psyker is more dependent on its secondary weapon to determine its role more than the other classes, whether it's AoE horde clearing, single target priority, or CC God. And finally, action economy. Quelling is a Psyker equivalent to reloading, which takes a lot of time. In a game where our action economy is important, we must be mindful of how we are utilizing our time. Action economy is, in short, measuring cost versus reward. By quelling, we're not doing damage or CC. If we have to get close to kill a target, we risk taking damage. These and many other factors are things we must consider in choosing our weaponry and the engagements we get into. Until any further updates, the game is built and designed for you and 3 other rejects per mission. As such, we shall build out your team you will likely find in a random lobby and not a pre-made stack. The Soldier will focus on long range and priority targets, using the Hellbore Lasgun and Power Sword. The Zealot, melee crowd clearer, using the Thunderhammer and Bolter for himself range, single, and crowd clearing. And the Ogryn, having a crowd control focus, using the shield to provide cover and the grenade launcher for horde clearing. The traits we're going with is 1-1-1-2-1-3 for the most damage we can get. Again, Dead is the best form of CC. We're going with the 4-sword for melee nukes via its special action and moderate crowd clearing. We want higher damage and first target for bigger single target nukes with warp resistance and finesse as a second priority, and mobility being our dump stat. Our secondary, we're going to choose a staff. Of course, we could go with a gun, but you're choosing a Psyker, not for the Brain Burst or the cool sword, but because of the unique effects the staff has to offer. And that's also why you're listening to this loser. But which staff to choose? To help decide which staff you want, here's a rubric I'll be judging each staff. Again, your role in the party is CC, but we are not neglecting damage, because Dead is the best form of CC. We're also judging the weapons at their base and max stats, to the best of our ability. We understand that we cannot sacrifice 1,000 Psykers to the God Emperor every day for better RNG on our weapon rolls, so we'll try to judge weapons based on their consistent performance. If you want a more detailed explanation on how weapon stats work in Darktide, I recommend checking out some other videos, such as the one by Italian Spartacus or JSAT, as they'll do a better job than me. The Trauma Staff gets a 3 out of 3 flexibility. The left mouse button is a single target orb that flies across the screen with decent range on its charge attack. This complements your loadout pretty well, as it allows you to take all range engagements, and provides horde knockback. This also complements the Ogre's launcher and gives the team much needed breathing room during the horde. Also, it can stagger Ogre-sized enemies with minimal charge, except the mutant. The stack is full benefits, regardless of the situation. There's long range, as well as this. Regardless if it's a stair, drop, or choke point, you'll get the full benefits of this knockback. However, the amount of enemies hit alongside damage scales directly with the charge rate. Damage apparel is abysmal. You aren't really going to kill anything with this. Maybe the 2 or 3 drags in the center. But with the amount of apparel you build up, 6 drags before blowing up yourself is suboptimal, to put it kindly. The Trauma Staff is the first staff you get at level 5, and it staggers Ogre-sized enemies. Even up to difficulty 5, Damnation. A little apparel buildup of 10 or so, depending on your weapon. Perhaps you could swap to apparel resistance to give you more casts, but with 3 or 4 casts, the picking of a trait for less damage, there are other staves that just do it better. And high health enemies still have, a lot to work with, giving you suboptimal damage up to Damnation. Overall, the Trauma Staff gets a grand total of 5.5 out of 9. It does okay, but you quickly learn why you don't use it after the first time you use it at level 5. The Voidstrike Staff earns a 3 out of 3 for its flexibility, with long range for its left mouse button, and its charge attack. This also provides you an option to clear out enemies in cover at range, while also a horde clearer. This complements well with the Veteran's range and Zealot's horde clearing, giving your team ranged horde clearing. However, the Voidstrike Staff earns a 1.5 out of 3 on its consistency. It's too situational on the situations you can use it. Whether it's looking up at a ledge, looking upstairs, or looking down, you're not going to be able to hit all affected targets utilizing its short charge just so you can get the knockback effect and not killing enemies. In order to get the full benefit, you need to be on the same level as your enemies. The amount of enemies you hit too is based on how much you charge, as the more damage you'll do allows you to pierce more targets. At full, we will hit all the enemies and cleave through them, which is good if we have elites in the back. And finally, the damage power ratio is serviceable. In fact, you're clearing quite a lot of enemies how much power you're building. For scaling, it does pretty well even with difficulty 5. Especially as more high HP targets appear, and Brain Burst becomes much less viable as an option. It's also great flexibility, giving you better damage or better peril control as an option for your traits. It'll do good damage regardless. And again, the ratio is pretty good. As more elites show up, the long range high damage staff is a nice option. The Voidstrike Staff has a grand total of 7.5 out of 9. When you can get the full benefit of the weapon, it shines above the rest in both crowd clearing and single target nukes from range. However, as there is quite a lot of verticality in Darktide, and the projectile's travel time, it is a bit difficult to always get that great positioning without putting yourself at risk and or losing coherency bonuses. Alright, the Surge Force Staff. The staff everyone has been waiting for. I'm aware some other YouTubers and forums will say this is the best staff you could use, and for good reason, but with my rubric, you'll see it's not as great as people say. For flexibility, it does earn a 3 out of 3. Both left mouse button and charge are long range, and it's really far on how far lightning hits. easy to hit with the CC option and a long range CC option too. This gives you a lot more rolls as well as impact within your party. As your team lacks consistent CC outside of the Ogren's launcher, this option gives your team near 100% uptime on stun, with an easily renewable and manageable resource compared to the highly contested ammo pickups for the Ogre. For consistency, the Surge Staff earns a 1 out of 3. First off, you're hard stuck. You can't snap with this staff mid-charge. As shown here, if you swap mid-charge, the visual will show the arc, but no damage or stun is put out. During the Horde, many enemies will try to flank you. Because of this, your only option is to dodge, which you should be doing anyways, but being able to stun a Rager with your charge attack by snapping to them could also be an option. But it isn't, sadly. Also, great, you stun the first 6 enemies, but you still have 50 more coming behind them, and from the left and the right, but you're stuck stunning the initial 6 for no damage, while your teammates are picking up their slack and cleaving 6 enemies with a swing. See the problem here? Also, the Surge Staff is hard capped on 6 targets at any time at max charge. It will not arc to new targets during the charge until the initial 6 are dead, at which point it will find a new target. Also, with the Mauler and the Rager are in the center of the Horde, good luck hitting them beyond the first 50 enemies that are coming at you. It also has okay damage. Seeing a target, it does wonders. Your critical bonus does apply here, or your primary, which is great. If you happen to get headshots, you're going to do a lot of damage to a single target. But you're really using this for the chain attack, for the CC. The initial target will take most of the damage, but the chain targets, they're not going to take as much. Also, when comparing this to unarmored targets, it's abysmal. Starting from 0, we kill the initial target, and finally the target, for 80% peril. This, of course, is unarmored targets, and sure, whatever, but against these armored targets, it still takes quite a lot for us to finally kill them. And again, for reference, this is a Mauler. The intended target. Making sure he's reset. This is the Mauler. From 0, full HP to 0. On damnation. In order to kill the Mauler, we have to hit 100%. If there's more than one Mauler, that's not great. We have to spend time to quell in order for us to get the second Mauler. Not great. The Surge Staff earns a 1.5 out of 3 for scaling. At difficulty 3 and above, stun is valuable. Enemies such as dogs and fox pursers will get stunned on just your basic charge. You don't even have to charge all the way to get it. This stuff can also stun ogre-sized enemies, such as Mauler and Reaper. You can even stun the Bulwark beyond its shield. However, if you wanted to change your traits, I definitely don't recommend doing damage with this. Damage is suboptimal. Go for the Warp Resistance, as this staff is entirely for crowd control. Just tap the charge and go. And again, when comparing Warp Resistance, the peril buildup, again, it takes 100% to finally kill one Mauler. Don't Vegeta yourself. The Surge Staff earns a grand total of 5.5 out of 9. This staff is intended to provide CC and lots of it. The damage is meh at best. With this current iteration, it doesn't provide great amounts of CC as it's hard stuck on the initial targets, and isn't really a safe option. If Vtuber improves how many targets and allows it to stun new targets with different parameters, I can see the staff actually being a good choice. But for how much peril you build up, just for a stun? Remember, Dead is the best form of CC, and waiting for your teammates to kill your targets you stun, instead of killing them yourself, is putting a lot more stress on them. Stun is good, dead is better. Finally, we had the Purgation Staff. Flexibility, and there's a 2 out of 3. The left mouse button and charge are both short range. Yours select Brain Burst being your only long range option. Even against basic infantry, unless you're good at dodging bullet fire. However, this does provide great horde clearing. Ask any zealot uses Flamer, Curse of Heretics, and Holy Fire. Your sword is also an option for horde clearing. This staff does it better. It allows you to use your sword for single target nukes. Your team will also need a generally more consistent way to get rid of hordes, especially with how abundant they will be. At least also spawn with hordes, you'll still be able to help whittle down the elite with your flames from a safe distance, unlike the zealot. The biggest issue is your veteran may have an issue seeing through the holy fire purgation, but they have holy fire to highlight targets. That'll be fine. Besides that, spray and pay. It's a horde. Kill a southern veteran. For consistency, the Purgation Staff earns a 3 out of 3. It is unaffected by location, whether you're looking for the ledge, down, or choke point. It'll hit all the enemies regardless. Enemies will funnel to you because of those drop points that we mentioned earlier, and it'll hit them all with one charge as they continue to funnel through. It's also a static number. Regardless of how much by the left mouse button or the charge, the number of hits is not determined by the charge rate. Rather, it's instead affected by the cloud radius stat. Finally, you're also able to safely snap between targets. Whether somebody's trying to flank you, your burn stacks and stagger apply to whoever the visual touches, and not the initial 6 targets like the Surge Staff. Still, in dodge, of course, better to be safe than sorry. Also, it's very efficient. Here's a Mauler at Damnation for reference. For one cast, you can kill one Mauler and the Scab Gunner. And if the Mauler's in the center of a horde of enemies, you'll still hit and apply burn. Again, from 0, here's the Mauler. You can go 67, or one cast, which is a bit more time and patience. At 40%, you'll kill the Mauler at Damnation, compared to the full charge it would take for a Surge Staff. Tip: you can use the left mouse button for staggers, and charge, stagger, and damage, assuming time permits. The Purgation Staff earns a 3 out of 3 for scaling. It's pretty solid. At Damnation, where there will be many hordes and elites within those hordes, doing damage to multiple enemies helps save ammo for your teammates. But loser, what about CC, huh? The Psyker's main role. This staff does none of that. Omega lol. Left mouse button, you fool. It stuns drags, dongs, and pox versus while they're running, for less charge and faster than the other stats. Maulers and Rages are an issue, yeah, but at Damnation, you're better at swapping to your Force Sword and special attacking them to kill them. Or better yet, kill them from range before they get to you by purging them in Righteous Fire. Also, when choosing your traits, damage is best. The traits mentioned earlier work really well with this staff. It should be in cohesion range of your Zealot and Overn allies. The higher damage also helps out, roughly 25% damage increase, and going for more casts, your barrel reduction is okay, but the sooner they're dead, the better. It's also pretty efficient. Again, Mauler and Damnation is dead in one cast. The Horde, also gonna die. Armored or not, the Forces of Chaos are not resistant to fire. Tip: the closer you are to the target, the more damage it does. Second tip: duck. A lot. The Purgation Staff earns a grand total of 8 out of 9. We provide our team CC by giving a stagger effect via both the left mouse button and charge attack, while also doing great, consistent damage over time, damage to hordes. While I can't stun ogre-sized enemies like the other staves, we are part of a team who likely has other means of taking them down. If not, we do have the option of brain bursting from range or force sword special. Ultimately, the Purgation staff rounds out the Psyker by providing horde clearing. Again, the force sword can horde clear, but the staff does it better and safer. Long range is an issue, but the veteran has that covered until our ogre can close the gap for us to follow behind. Just be sure to hold that shield up, buddy, and not charge in for glory. You've seen it too much. Staves rank with Trauma at 4, Surge at 3, Voidstrike at 2, and Purgation at 1. Overall, final thoughts. Should you use Purgation? Ultimately, it's up to you and your party. When you're unsure about your teammate's loadout, like you're playing with randoms, I highly recommend Purgation, as it rounds out your capabilities, giving you crowd clearing and good damage as your first option, and the Voidstrike staff as a strong second. However, if you are playing with a 4-stack, adjust accordingly with what your team wants and needs. If your Zealot is taking a Flamer, you probably don't need a Purgation, but could use a Voidstrike or Surge for the long-range engagements. Adjust accordingly to both your team and ultimately your playstyle and skills. I play Psyker up close, but if you don't like to, or if you can't dodge well, then Purgation may not be the option for you. I'm just providing what I believe to be an objective, by the facts, understanding of the available staffs at the current iteration and patch of the game. If the staffs receive reworks, buffs, or adjustments later in the future, I recommend to use the rubric provided to gauge the effectiveness of the staff yourself. Again though, I highly recommend the Purgation staff. Even not for its effectiveness, do it to purge the heretics. If you enjoyed what you saw, then you already know what to do. If you want to debate with me, or have any questions you want to ask, feel free to join us on our Twitch. We're live most weekdays around 8 or 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We hope to see you there.